Jeremy, did you forget? You have to film.
One moment. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of my brand new podcast. My name is Jeremy Blore and this is Blore on Mandalore. So basically what I wanted to do with this podcast / show was just unleash a lot of my knowledge on Star Wars, get to know a little more, talk with some of the people who want to interact with this podcast. Then I want to do a couple different things. I want to do book readings. I want to do a bunch of like arts and craft and kind of film that while talking about different stuff to do with that. I've got a lot of stuff planned and a lot of stuff in the works, ready to go and ready to film. But to start with now, we're actually super lucky at the perfect time. We've got The Bad Batch Season 3 dropped just yesterday in Australia, 7 p.m. I believe in America it was 12 a.m. And it premiered with 3 episodes. 3 episodes of jam-packed content. Look, the thing is with Bad Batch, this is the end of an era. This is the end of George Lucas's final touches on Star Wars. Now, I don't mean that as in he has directly meddled with everything that's been going on here. He hasn't. He hasn't for a while. However, this is the very first time we're seeing something end. Well, not end, but we're kind of seeing the end of the last of George's work. He created the Clone Wars in the early 2000s to kind of patch up everything in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, which is crazy that it was just a passing comment in A New Hope. Mental that we've had hundreds of hours worth of content based off one line. But he has finally finished with his reign. We're not going to see any more of anything that has been touched by the great creator. We are now into the Disney realm. Now, a lot of people see the Disney side of it as negative. It is a bit of a tough stance to sit on because you go one side of it, I love Star Wars. I love everything that Star Wars does. And you could give me any content whatsoever and I'm going to binge watch it and love every second of it. Now, that's not going to be the case for everything. And a lot of people have attributed downfall towards Disney based off of the sequels. Now, this show itself, I actually love the sequels. I am what a lot of people call a Disney beep rider, but I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars, and I have a very big thing that I swear I can find anything good in anything that Star Wars has ever produced. Anything good. That's my stance. That's how it's going to go. And if you don't like it, that's fine. And if you maybe even want to change my mind, let me know. Let me know. But I don't think you will. I think this is just, it's such a stupid thing for the fan base to just constantly go at each other for. To constantly be against each other. To be up at arms at any word that you say. If I say, oh, I don't care that Rey is Rey Skywalker, not Rey Palpatine, everyone's going to rip into me. Everyone's going to tear me to shreds, and you're going to see comment sections where in any post in Star Wars that will remind you of Disney's atrocities and how much they're ruining Star Wars. I recently went through a very popular YouTuber's comment section, Star Wars Theory. Now, Star Wars Theory posted a video basically saying the same thing that I said at the start about how this is George Lucas's end. And you know what? I'm not upset about it. But the comment sections were. The comment sections actually were pretty vicious. They were pretty vicious. Basically saying, oh, we're pirating everything. I haven't watched anything that Disney's put out because nothing has been good. Also, if you hear any trucks or anything in the background, I'm on a main road and I'm kind of doing this in my living room. But, so apologies for that. I'll try to minimize whenever I hear a truck. But yeah, a lot of the time people saying, oh, like in the comment section, I am pirating everything. I hate what Disney's done. It's ruined Star Wars for me. And they were talking about Star Wars Theories post, but they were saying, oh, you know, I'm going to be watching only your breakdowns of things so I can understand what's going on, but then I'm just going to hate on it. And I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I've posted a couple of times in that comment section being like, come on, like, let's find some love. Let's find some joy. I love Star Wars. I love it. And I kind of pose it to people. I was like, oh, you know, what don't you like? I don't like the characters. So what? You like Yoda? Big character. I know. But what? You like Yoda? Of course I like Yoda. Okay, well, what did you think of the Yoda scene in The Last Jedi? And a lot of people were like, yeah, no, like that's separate. Like it's because it's just a good character. Well, I mean, Luke's a great character. I personally think they fucked him up. Oh, beep. They screwed him up. I really think they could have done a different approach with him. But I mean, just because it's a good character doesn't mean that that's going to make the scene. I think they did that beautifully, and that is actually hands down one of my favorite moments in Star Wars. It's basically saying everything that everyone's been talking about since the prequels dropped, which was, oh, now I know why the Jedi fell, and I guess Luke just fell into that trap. Now, people don't like that Luke fell into that trap, but doesn't matter. I will go off on a tangent for years. I'll talk about that way too much. But what I will say is, with all that negativity, I want to spread some positivity. I love what's been going on. I'm not going to be that kind of show. I am a massive, massive believer, again, that you can find anything to love, anything to care about, you know, let alone, you know, you may not like the story, but what about the cinematography? The cinematography in the sequels was chef's kiss. It was beautiful. And then Disney's made some incredible stuff going past the sign over from Lucas. They've made definitively the best Star Wars, in my opinion, The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is my favorite character. He is the biggest badass. He's like a gunslinger, cowboy, samurai. He's got everything in one. He's the best. And for me, no one compares, because you know what? He's way too similar to who I believed Boba Fett was before they started bringing out the book of Boba Fett. Now, that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change any idea about what I think of Boba Fett. I love Boba Fett. I loved the book of Boba Fett. Tusken Raider episodes were incredible. But I'm a massive, massive fan of just badass dudes in Star Wars. Also badass women. I don't discriminate. You can be anything that you want. There are 50 bajillion species in Star Wars. All I care about is if you're a badass, which majority are. Okay. Beyond all of that, I'll give a little bit about myself, because it kind of shows, well, where Blore on Mandalore is gonna go. I'm a massive Star Wars collector. I love collecting heaps of stuff. I'm actually, you can see it in the frame right here. I've got the N1 Naboo Starfighter from Hasbro. It's actually a part of their 3.75 inch vintage collection. I love the vintage collection, the 3.75 inches. It's a very welcome number to me. I have a girlfriend. I love them. You can also see here, this is what my beautiful girlfriend, she's the best. She's actually the biggest supporter of everything that I do. She's the one that pushed me to do this podcast. I'll give her a little shout out at the end, but she got me this bar on Navarro. Now, Navarro, this is actually the planet. Sorry, truck. This is actually the planet that we first see the Mandalorian not first see him on, because he was in a bar, but like we first kind of see him interacting with people properly. Like he's actually having a conversation where we find out he's a real bounty hunter. He's the real McCoy. You know what I do? You know what I mean? Sorry. Where he's talking to Grief Karga and he's getting his chips, and it's kind of showing, hey, by the way, this guy is like well revered within the community. He is a badass. Anything you want done, he does it. And they kind of retrofitted it. They made it a little better later. They're kind of making Navarro better. And then this set is from when, at the end of season 1, they're destroying it. Now, I have multiple parts of this. I've spent way too much money into the figures. But I have the Bar Navarro. I also have the Stormtrooper with the big minigun. Not minigun. I can't remember what that thing's called. I have the box. I could go check the box. Also, I may keep the figure out of the box because I actually want to play with it. I love playing with the figures. I have everything to do with this, but it's just the bar itself is incredible. Now, also, if you are commenting, I don't know if you can fully see it in the frame, but I have the Death Trooper, I have Mando, and then a B-1 battle droid serving them both shots, with also the spiders from Moldo Kreese. Now, Moldo Kreese is when Grogu kind of runs up there and he cracks open the eggs and stuff, and the spiders go everywhere, and you see the big mum. Well, this is one of the mums here. Not the big one, but this is one of the mums. Anyways, so if you're wondering, and if you're going, hey, by the way, you're not doing a proper setup here. I know. This is my fantasy land. I like to think that everyone's loving each other and everyone's having a good time and they're just getting shots. And that's the B-1 battle droid from Battlefront 2. That's the Heavy Trooper. Heavy is like my number one go-to, but if I had to choose something else, I'd also go the Clone Commando. Now, if you do want to see any gaming content as well, I love gaming. I've got all this old Star Wars games. I've got all the new ones as well. If you want to see anything, let me know. Let me know, because I love gaming and it gives me more of an excuse to kind of get out there and be a little more creative and give you guys what you want, my audience. But I mean, nothing beats this. Just last little bit. Nothing beats this little ship that I have here. Honestly, my mum is the sweetest ever. I was being a bit of a terrible son at the time, and I wasn't really talking to her too much. And she did mention to me months ago, she goes, oh, by the way, if you want a Christmas present, tell me what it is. And I said, look, I don't want to get anything. However, I'm getting this and you can put a little money towards it. And she goes, no, I'm paying for it. She's the best. I love you, Mum. You're the best. And also Tony as well. Love you, Tony. He also helped out with this one because it was a little bit expensive, but this was the best present ever. It's actually one of the only things that I would genuinely play with all the time. I got the separate R5 for the top because it has a different compartment where you can actually put Grogu in there. So it kind of has like it has the Mando Season 3 before Grogu's little pit when he had R5 going along with him, which by far one of my favorite droids. He's my favorite individual droid, but nothing beats Gonk. Nothing beats Gonk. Gonk supremacy. If you love Gonk, please comment down below that you love Gonk because you are 100% with me on that one. I love him. I love them so much. They're just little power supplies. They're little bloody portable chargers that run around yelling their name. Who doesn't love that? Gonk. 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 Yeah. The best. The best. They also premiere in The Bad Batch, which is really cool. But yeah, just to finish this one off, it is the coolest ever. I had to collect a whole bunch of different stuff for it. However, if you see in there, which you can't really, but I have in there, I have every jetpack the Mando would have had in all of his figurines. I'm a huge Mando fan. You can't be a bigger Mando fan than I am. He's the best. But I have his Beskar spear, I have his Darksaber, I have multiple variants of each of them, but I only have one Beskar spear. I have his blaster, and I also have a little mini Grogu there with the with that little shifter knob that was on the top. Anyways, okay. Moving on from there. Let's get into Bad Batch. Basically, I've got my notes here because I was writing notes down as I was watching it. And if you know me, I have notoriously the worst memory. I can use excuses like my motorbike accident, but still, it's the worst memory. I can't remember shit unless I've just watched it recently. So I had to write down my notes, and it will get better as I go along. For those who are just listening, I'm going to try to put this on Spotify. I really don't know how. On top of that, I don't know how to do anything when it comes to this. I'm completely learning on the fly, on the go. I've never edited. I've never edited before. I've got Adobe Audition here. If you keep on seeing me looking down, I'm looking to make sure that the audio is still going. And with editing, I don't know how to add this to. I'm literally figuring this out as I go. I wish I had a camera here so I could flip it. I have the most ghetto setup. But I love it. Because all this is a way for me to learn how to do stuff when it comes to technology. I'm notoriously bad with technology. I want to learn how to edit. I want to learn how to make things higher quality than just CapCut and random Instagram reel things. Even learning how to design. Now, full credit to the design to my beautiful, beautiful girlfriend. She is the best. She's literally my number one supporter. I was sitting there for hours on Photoshop, struggling, and about 2 seconds from giving up when I get a call from my savior. She is literally the best, and she helped me design my logo. She not even helped me design it. She literally, I gave her like, oh, look, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And she goes, done. She did it in like an hour and a half. So shout out. I love you, my beautiful girlfriend. It's Tia Galanos. You should follow her. She is incredible. And she's such a beautiful person. Anyways, so yeah, if you see things that are kind of, if you see them that are a bit awry, if you don't know if I'm doing something intentionally, you can point it out. Point out anything that I'm doing wrong. I'm literally trying to do it to get better. So comment down below if you see something wrong. Is there something wrong with my set? Do you want to see something behind there? I actually do have ideas for what's going on back there, and I also have ideas for intros and all that kind of stuff. Tier lists as well, the infamous tier lists, which I got that idea from the guys at Beyond the Dune Sea. They are the best. I'm going to talk about them at the end. But just like a quick, you cannot get anyone nicer, more supportive as creators. I don't know them. They're in America somewhere, completely random, and they have single-handedly motivated me and pumped me up and helped me out, especially Connor, to get me to even just filming right now. So if you do enjoy anything to do with Star Wars, they are your number one. I'm going to shout out at the end of every episode, I'm going to shout out a different content creator that I personally enjoy looking at. I'm not going to give any bad recommendations, because if I don't like them, I'm not going to say them, because I don't care. I don't care about them. A lot of the time, they are going to be amazing. Literally 99% of them will be amazing. But there are some, and I won't say who, that are just, they hate on Star Wars too much, man. How are you a Star Wars content creator? Anyway, okay. Beyond it. Beyond the Dune Sea. No. Okay. So Bad Batch, Season 3, Episode 1. 3-episode premiere. I saw all of them last night. They were incredible. So, we bring out the notes. I'm going to swap hand here. Hold on a sec. Also, I've got a Darksaber. That's my... If you haven't picked this up already, Darksaber. Basically, confirming that I'm the biggest Mandalorian fan. I want a Beskar spear, but it's... like, the one I was looking at was coming from the UK, and it was going to take too long to even get it on the set. Anyways, that's... I don't know why I brought that up. But there's going to be one point. And another thing as well... God, I'm all over the shop. I'm actually all over the shop today. I should have planned this out properly. I should have done it. It literally took everything to organize everything. And I didn't even plan out the episode. I'm just talking. But if you do like crafting stuff, like I said earlier, I'm going to be doing crafting. I'm actually planning on doing my own Mandalorian armor. 3D printed, but I'd show the whole process. So if you guys like that, I kind of need a little bit of a... like a, hey, Jeremy, go do it, you know? So if you really want that, push for it. Tell me in the comments. You want it, I'm doing it. Whatever you guys want. As long as it's not being oiled up in a dark room. I prefer a lot of light to glimmer off of my body. But, episode 1, Confined. Bad Batch. Now, from what I saw with... because I like to look into the name of everything. Why is it called Confined? Confined because literally the whole episode you're seeing what feels like a jail sequence throughout. You know, you're in a small room with... well, I mean, you're on Omega's perspective. So she's in a small room with no personal items. She's got one window that have got the bars that have the smallest little gap of sunlight to get through them. And every morning, the same thing. You've got routine inspections. You've got blood work. You've got everything. You are confined into a huge cell. So what I like to think is this is just the way of saying, hey, by the way, Omega's not going to get out of here anytime soon. Which is really cool because, honestly, I'm so glad they didn't just go... I mean, obviously, they did at the start, but I'm so glad they didn't just go, oh, yeah, by the way, this is Season 3 is like right after Season 2. You got that to kind of warm you into, hey, by the way, this is a jail. And then you go, boom, 100-something days later. What the... She's like growing up. She's looking a little more mature, kind of turning into a bit more of a hunter. I'll go into that. But yeah, like, I love that you kind of see her and she's not the same. She's worn down. She's confined to this cell. She's not the same Omega that we knew. However, she still has such an incredible character that she's happy. And by character, I mean literally who she is, like who she embodies. She is so happy and so go-lucky, and I love it. And I honestly, already, I didn't really like Omega. Spoiler alert, I didn't really like Omega in the first 2 seasons. My favorite is Wrecker. Wreck is the coolest, followed by Hunter. I couldn't find a Wrecker figurine, but I do have a Hunter, which I'll bring out another time where it's like more of a Hunter-focused episode. But yeah, so I'm starting to like Omega. I'm actually starting to like the person that she's becoming. I'm liking what's going on and kind of how she's just fighting against it non-stop. Crosshair's given up. Crosshair's like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to even know you. But Omega doesn't give up. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm all here for it. So, let's see if it stays the same. I don't want to see a broken Omega. Anyways, to even further that, you've got all of the security. I have never seen in Star Wars a more locked up place than this. Mount Tantus is a fortress, and you only can get out if you are super high ranking, or obviously if you're a stormtrooper, which is super, super cool to be like, you know what? I understand why Crosshair's given up. You like, even to get into the vault, Scorch, he's the clone commando who follows around, what's his name? See what I mean about my memory? Oh my god, I can't remember. I've got it here somewhere. Hemlock. I didn't even have to read it. Scorch is the clone commando that follows around Hemlock, and he's originally from the Republic Commando game. My favorite Star Wars game. I played it when I was a kid, so it's super nostalgic. But I loved playing it over and over and over. It was actually one of the first strategy games that I ever played. It kind of made me think like, you drag people over, like, oh, by the way, you watch this spot for these guys and this spot for these guys, and you take the front. You're a grenader, like, you're blah, blah, blah. Anyways, Scorch was like the really happy kind of like, he's a loving dude, but he's a lot of fun. He is emotionless in this. I mean, you see him in season 2, but it's just highlighted even more now. Nothing. It is like the most blank stare through. Look, being a fan of Republic Commando, I'm like, I get it. He's just Order 66. He's a clone commando. But I wish he had a little more. I wish he had just some lines, you know what I mean? So hopefully the season's not over. I think it's going to be like a 13 episode. It's going to be like a 13 episode season. So we'll see. And then you have got Omega making the doll. I'm just going to constantly keep looking through my notes and so on to have reminders. But the doll is the same doll that she had on 99's, well, Clone Force 99's ship, the Bad Batch's ship, the Marauder. Now, I love this because it's kind of like, it's really just highlighting, even though she's older, even though she's kind of like worn down, and you can see because it's like the way she does her blood work, the way she wakes up in the morning, she's already at the front door ready. She's already waiting. Before it was like, oh, like, no, leave me alone. And now she's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. She eats the same food. She has the same way to pick up a lunchbox every time. It's routine. It's routine. It's routine. It's military. I get it. I love that she's making it her own. And she's using the straw from all of the pens of the lurkers. The lurkers that were there. Lurkers, I don't remember if we've seen them before this. Probably would have seen a little bit. But I actually really just remember him. Well, I really only just saw him for the first time, season 3. I was too even if they were in there, I was too focused on everything else that's going on to worry about a pig. But it's a cool pig. It's a cool pig. We'll go into that. Now, the one thing is that I noticed with this episode, how many clone commandos there were everywhere. Everywhere. Now, a lot of you would just think, oh, well, it's a heavily fortified base. Yes, that's why they're there. I get that. However, I kind of see a little extra on that, which is all Rex wants to do and all Echo now wants to do is save clones, want to turn them against the Empire. And even if they haven't, they'll take care of them anyway, or they'll rescue the people that are turning away without them guiding them. It's going to be Rex's hardest challenge. I hope we see more of Rex. I hope we need to see more of Rex, because this is the end of the clones. This is the end of the clones. We need to see more Rex. Please, set up for what he was in Rebels, even if he's a fat lard. Set him up. I want to see more Rex when he's prime. He's primed up. He's ready to go. And also Rex in a cape. Come on. Rex in just a robe in general. Come on. He looks so cool. Anytime you got a robe and you've got clone armor, chef's kiss. I'll be there. Moving on. I hope for a clone rebellion. Now, I'm calling it early, but it's a pretty common call. I've seen it in a couple of different places, but I called this from season 1. You can ask my best mate. He would say the same thing. I called this from the first season. I want a clone rebellion. I don't like the way they're being treated. You see Crosshair and Mayday at the end of season 2, and you're like, whoa, that was a powerful episode. So, that was about to be horribly edited. Apologies for that. However, I'll talk about what I was saying before, which is I want a clone rebellion. Obviously, Rex is going to have the hardest time turning these clones, no matter what. They've all got the inhibitor chips, and it's going to take a while for him to actually turn them off and to kind of remove them from every individual clone that comes through. And you think about the millions of clones, probably only thousands now, but you think about the sheer numbers. Now think about clone commandos. Think about the clone commandos. How are you going to change the minds of the most strict, one personality, straight up gangsters? You're not. But if he does, and he's able to change the tides through the clone commandos, insane. Think about the sight of Mount Tantus as they're flying away in the Marauder and multiple other shuttle ships. As they're going off, you just see Mount Tantus go. However, I don't think Mount Tantus is going to blow up. And that's because Project Necromancer. Basically, Project Necromancer is reviving the Emperor. It's trying to fill in the gaps between the knowledge of the sequels and kind of like all the stuff that was going on before. they added in force healing. So Grogu can force heal like he does in Mando Season 2. That's and Grief Karga is like, baby, do the hand thing. He's cool. R.I.P. Carl Weathers. So sad. So sad. Had a good tear for him. So basically they did the force healing, and then they did somehow Palpatine returned. Look, they kind of explained it. You had one of the guys as they were like, somehow Palpatine returned. How could he return? Dark magic. Dark Sith magic. Yeah. But this is just a kind of the way for them to be like, oh yeah, by the way, it makes sense. Like they have done for years. George has filled in so many gaps post-movies with all this other different stuff. It's not new. Leave Disney alone. Leave Filoni alone. He is kind of killing the game. And I love seeing fans being the head of Star Wars. But yeah, basically, Omega, as you see a little bit later as well in episode 3, which I'll talk about. But you see a little later, her DNA is actually perfect for it. She has her DNA is perfectly able to use the midichlorian count that Palpatine already has, and transfer that into an open body, which we come to a theory time. Do you think that Omega is technically Rey's grandmother? Now, I'll say that, grandmother, but she's also technically, her DNA would be the father. So Rey is a part of the Bad Batch. But I will say, Omega's DNA, Palpatine's DNA, made one of the clones. Yeah, that clone, Rey's dad. Because Rey's dad was a clone of Palpatine. Rey's dad, obviously, and Rey's mum, make Rey. Ditch her on Jakku to kind of save her. But in the end, she would have died without Kylo. No, but it just has the most amount of midichlorian accepting DNA, or even Omega's got midichlorians. What? She's a force-sensitive clone. We don't know, but we're going to figure it out. Basically, it just means that she is the perfect sample to be able to transfer Palpatine's consciousness into a clone body. Now, if you don't know, if you're new to Star Wars and you're one of my friends, or you're one of the people who are just like randomly scrolling through and they found this, midichlorians are microscopic organisms that live in every living cell. That was from The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon. He was actually explaining to Anakin. Anakin's like, what's a midichlorian? And he's just like, rah, rah, rah. Exactly what I just told you. And so it's canon. It's canon. It's in every living cell. And then you kind of see that a little further, that every living being has the possibility to use the Force. Think about Sabine Wren. Now, if you're angry about Sabine Wren being able to use the Force and to be able to Force push Ezra in Ahsoka, come on, man. She has the same bloodline as the first ever Mandalorian Jedi. Who made this? Not the microphone, but this Darksaber. He made that, Tar Vizsla. So, if you're angry about that, come on. That's not as cool as I thought. Yeah, basically, it's kind of confirmed that cloning is the only way Palpatine is going to continue his life. Now, there are Sith tricks to be able to remove consciousness and put it in. I don't know if they're going to expand on that. I don't know if they're purely going to make it as someone that doesn't have the memory and then you kind of upload it. No idea. Is it going to be an empty body? But either way, it's dark Sith magic. then we kind of finished off the episode with Omega befriending the Lurker. Cutest thing. I love it. I know it's really ugly and it's got that big snout and stuff, but I'm a sucker for something really ugly that is just adorably cute. Now, it's not my girlfriend, by the way. She is just really beautiful. But what's really cool is the cloning might mean that that's how we're going to see Snoke in the future. Okay, episode 2. Paths Unknown. Now, kind of what I took from this was that this is about the clones themselves. Obviously, in this episode, we see 3 young clones who have just escaped the bombed laboratory. But I think it's a little more than that. Obviously, refers to the Bad Batch as well. But I think it refers to all of the clones. All of the clones being every clone that has survived outside of Order 66 and through the Empire. They're being phased out. They have no rights. We don't know what the hell's going on. They're already having accelerated aging. Where are we going to see them go? What are we going to see them do? That's going to be the most interesting part. But this episode kind of leads to that with just these 3 kids. Anyways, so we kind of open up and we see Roland Dumond. He's the guy with the chopped off horn. Yeah. We see him previously, Pike Syndicate, chopped off his horn because he didn't pay. Well, he didn't have the spice. Spice is a drug in Star Wars, by the way. So don't spice and drive. Or do and have a hella good time. No, we don't endorse that. No spicing. No spicing and driving, but spicing and flying. No. Anyways, that's so stupid. Sorry. Any pilots out there on Spice? I'm watching you. Basically we see Roland Dumond and his mother's crime syndicate, who has been getting weaker and weaker. Are they going to go anywhere with that? I hope not. I really hope not, but they could. They show that the Bad Batch, Hunter and Wrecker, at the moment, that's really all they are. Echo's off with Rex. Omega's trapped. Crosshair, he's trapped. And does he really want to be with him? They don't know that he does. Only we know it off camera. So Hunter and Wrecker, they track down this Pike syndicate guy, and he was just like, he was the dude that chopped off the horn. They gave him back the horn so he could potentially, glue it back on. That's not how horns work. Maybe it is in Star Wars. But he gives him back the horn, and he basically gets the information of the sector. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but for someone who doesn't know anything about a hidden Empire base, a sector is an incredibly good clue. A sector in Star Wars is made out of 10 planets. So basically they can narrow it down to 10 planets. But that's when it gets a little bit tough, because with Omega and Crosshair gone in episode 3, are they going to kind of cruise past each other? Like that like that meme with the guy rolling around in the car, and Umbrella Academy, that's it. And he's driving up in the car, and they kind of see each other, and they're like, I think it might be something like that. But either way, found it really, really interesting to see Hunter and Wrecker, their armor so worn, so broken, so torn, so cut up. Like, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Jump them into the future. Don't stick around in the past. How have they been going? And you see a lot about their mentality and what's going through in this episode. This is obviously a Hunter and Wrecker led episode. But it's really cool to see they're not the same dudes that we met before. They're not we're going to go relax on an island and live there for the rest of our lives. They can't do that. They have to be at war. And it has shown signs of strain. Omega's loss has actually really done something to them. Like, Hunter doesn't seem the same. And even with that, like, Wrecker bringing up how they lost Tech because of being all stupid and kind of reckless. That says something. That's Wrecker, the guy who's like, hey, bombs. He's now looking at it going, I can't lose any more friends. I've only got Hunter. And yeah, you know, Echo and Rex are in the distance, but the immediate family, Wrecker has no one anymore. They're gone. And I'm so glad, in a way, that they kept Tech dead, because it meant time, or at least so far. I really hope they don't bring back Tech. Deaths need to mean something in Star Wars. Just like the guys on Beyond the Dune Sea said, like, deaths need to mean something. It can't just be your everyday, I'm gonna chop my legs off and come back. It made an impact. Tech dying to save the crew. Then it kind of brings the question, are we even going to see the rest of the Bad Batch? Is Omega going to be the only one left? Anyways, it's interesting to see how reckless Hunter is and how careful Wrecker is. Now, kind of going back into the episode, you get there with the young clones. Now, the orbital strike took out Hemlock's old base, and they've kind of left these young clones, which are the same ones before Camino got taken down, being like, hey, are we going to be a soldier soon? Like, oh yeah, we're going to get the training. That's the same clones, by the way. So if you remember from an earlier, the first season, season 1, the clones that are walking through, and they've got, I don't know if it's Nala Se, but anyways, it's a Kaminoan walking with them. Believe it's Nala Se. It's like, oh, are we gonna be soldiers soon? And she's like, yeah, of course. Like, you know our training. They're gonna use you. Did they, Nala Se? Or any random Kaminoan? Did they? No. They use them as experiments. Now, a blessing and a curse, the laboratory was exploded by an orbital strike. So, orbital strike, if I just mumbled that. They destroyed any kind of future that they would have had with the Empire. So thankfully they were able to escape. But now they're stuck in a forest with slither vines. Now, slither vines are scary. They are freaky. But I did see a couple of things and kind of callbacks to things. But what I saw with it, doesn't it remind you of Gravemind from Halo? Now, I'm a big Halo fan. I played Halo, very first game on the Xbox. I love Halo. Halo's the coolest. Master Chief. Giving the Covenant back their bomb. Best Master Chief impression you've ever heard ever in your life. But you'll see the little kind of face suckery things that are running around in the hallways later. They look exactly like the little flood spores that are running around. And then you kind of see the vines and everything going through. It's like, that's the flood. And if you see Halo 2, I believe it is, where the Gravemind speaks to them, and he's got them wrapped up in it's Halo 3, wrapped up in the tentacles. And he's there, and he's just like, you work together, blah, blah, blah. He brought up the Prophet and he actually separated the prophet's mind from the grave mind's mind, so he was able to live in consistent agony for the rest of their lives. I hope it doesn't go down that kind of path, but it just reminded me. It reminded me of the flood, like 100%. Anyways, you go through the episode. Basically, they're trying to get the information off of the data pad, saying, well, the system, saying where they're relocating the base to. That's how they got the information about the sector. But you see a lot with these kids. Now, these kids, they were one of them goes, no, these guys are helping clones. None of the other clones helped us. Screw them. I don't like them. And then these clones go, you know what? Like Bad Batch being like, you know, we're actually looking to save our friend. We don't care about anything else. Just want to save the friend. Super cool. You gotta love it. You've really gotta love it. And then you're going through, you're seeing them. Oh, I wanna break through the ship, showing, hey, times are changing. Not all clones are going to be the same way. They're not all wired to be the same thing. But in the end, they're clones. And they're loyal to their brothers. So as they were going through the maze to get to the console, the clones came over. And in perfect timing as well. It's almost like it was scripted. But the clones came through. And they were brought up, and then you see these vines coming out of murky water that kind of really resembled A New Hope, where they're in the trash compactor, the bubbling and everything like that, and the vines kind of swimming around, like that little monster. Can't remember the name, but it reminds me of that little monster that was going around in there, and the bubbling, and then and the vines come up and they wrap around the Marauder, and it's like pulling him down, and they're like, no, trying to make it through. And you know what we see? It's like a genetic mutation. The Empire has been screwing around with a lot of genetic stuff. This kind of proves it, that it's not just Palpatine. Like, they're doing it with so much stuff. It's not singularly going to be one dude. That's the most important one, because they need to continue the Empire. But it is so important to know that the Empire, they are doing bad things. And the Slithervine is just kind of a representation of anywhere the Empire goes, doesn't end well, and it's not pretty. They're not meant to be in places like that. Like the Slithervine took over the forest, the Empire has been taking over and has ruined all of the galaxy. But you've got the people like the Bad Batch stepping up, taking them on, trying to be a little better. Anyways, comes up that Sarlacc flood form looking loser, thinks that it's going to beat him. The small clones, who, I'll say that in a sec. The small clones, they find a way with Wrecker's help to get a massive amount of bombs and thermal detonators into the mouth of the Sarlacc thing. Slither Sarlacc. We can call it the Slither Sarlacc. And then they go off. Done. But we finish on a little somber note. As the boys are there in the ship, you see Hunter by one of the center consoles. Wrecker over in the corner, laughing with all of the boys. It's like the worst throw. You see Wrecker laughing with all the boys. It's the first time the ship has been filled with laughter since the death of Tech. And it takes a toll on Hunter. And you see it so beautifully when they're turning the camera and they're panning it across from Hunter, and you see Tech's broken glasses on the console with him. Man, when I saw that, I'm glad Tech is dead so he can have moments like that. Even though it's animated, it's just beautiful. pan across, boom. Joy. Hope. That's a lot of what Star Wars is. It's hope. You know, as Leia said, hope is like the sun. If you only believe it when you see it, the nights are going to be bad. I screwed up the last bit of the quote, but it's pretty beautiful while I was saying it, and I hope you think the same thing. Okay, and then we go to the final episode, the most impactful, because it combined the first two. I'm so glad they did it in 3. If they cut any of that, I would have been crying. Then you get to the third episode. Third episode pulls up, and you see Omega going through her daily routine, weathered, taken a toll. She's stuck, and she can feel it, but there's still that hope. She's still that hope. What I really like about this and the way they did it was when they took the DNA, when they took that DNA and they walked across and they went to and they went to, like, Hemlock came in and with Nala say, and he's like, the Emperor is making his way. Didn't say that exactly, but he basically goes, we have a very special guest, and I'm gonna need you, Nala say, so you can explain some of this stuff. Salif, you've got the cloned doctor, who also could be Rey's mum. No, no, I'm screwing with you. That you see the clone doctor be like, oh yeah, cool, I'll take over operations. And Nala says like, oh, because she's been destroying every single one of the blood samples that has been taken of Omega. She did that because she knew that her DNA is going to be the perfect fit for Palpatine's return in the sequels, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, what I love about this episode is the suspense that you see through the whole thing. By putting that vial in the clock-ticking device, all you get every time it gets closer, your heart just gets a little faster. Your heart rate's just like that. And I know that because I was checking on my Whoop 4.0. Not sponsored. But if you want to sponsor, please. That was a beautiful gift from my amazing girlfriend and my awesome brother. Who he's the reason why we had to clip some of that before. Because he walked in after a long, hard day. He's a primary school teacher. And I forgot to text him. So that's my bad. That's not his. That was all me. Either way, builds up so much suspense by just clock, tick, tick. And you're going throughout the episode going, oh, is he going to make it? Are they going to make it in time? Like, anyways. So, we see the arrival of Palpatine. Now, Palpatine is one of the most menacing characters to ever be created, not just in Star Wars, but in any fictional universe. He's incredible. The power that he holds by just the sheer weight of seeing him in a scene. Freaky. Now, what I noticed was this was very similar to how we see him in the original trilogy when he walks through the big hallway of all of the stormtroopers lined up, and you've got the 2 Imperial guards and they're walking with him. Very similar theme. Now, what I did notice with this theme, though, is it kind of seems like the precursor to the original Palpatine entrance, which I also liked as well. It's lighter, softer, but it's more of a warm-up towards that big heavy. Anyways. So, what I liked as well was that you see Palpatine he can't really have a large group of people protecting him, because this is a super secret base. No one can know about Mount Tantus. I'm assuming not even Vader. I hope we don't see Vader in this. I hope that his last moment with the clones was at the end of the Clone Wars when he's holding Ahsoka's lightsaber and he's seeing the Venator smashed into the ground and all of the clones' helmets with sticks that Ahsoka put there. Beautiful. I don't want to see anything different. However, what I will say with that is I don't mind if he comes back, but you have to just do it so that there's no clones involved. Please don't do any clones. Please. But he wouldn't know about this. Otherwise, he would have warned Luke when he was dying. Like, take off your helmet. Oh yeah, by the way, Luke, Palpatine's going to resurrect himself by using his consciousness in a clone that he's kept on this old Sith planet called Exegol. He's building a whole base. And he's going to have all of these destroyers that have Death Star weapons on everyone. Obviously, he would have said that. It seems like kind of an important detail, like a crucial detail, to tell your son who just saved you, and when you turn to the good side and you become a Force Ghost. So he wouldn't have known. And what I love the V-Wing starfighters. I love them. They're the coolest little ships. I remember I was sitting there with my roommate Isaiah. Lovely dude. Hope maybe he could collab for a better intro music. I got that intro music off YouTube, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I searched through a lot. I like it. I really like it, but maybe he could work with me. Huh, Isaiah, if you're listening. I'll give you a smooch. Come into your room late at night. Mwah. In a mankini. Yeah, but even he was saying, he was like, those ships are really, really cool. Like, imagine seeing a whole battalion of those. It kind of would look like Guardians of the Galaxy #1. You know, when they've got the big wall of ships kind of like locking in together. It really reminds me heavily of those. They're sick. I love them. Anyways, we see the first ever problem when it comes to Crosshair. Now, Crosshair, he's a little bit shaky. Now, I wrote down 3 things here because I was searching for so long. I was like, I wonder what... Like, did I miss something? What's going on? How would I miss such a crucial thing? Did he get burnt? Like, was that what happened when he burnt his head? No idea. Was it happen when he got done by... what do you call it? All of the Imperials? Like the Stormtroopers and stuff? I don't know. But I put in here. Potentially, I saw a theory that it is clone DNA kind of wearing down. They're accelerated aging. Maybe he's getting something similar to Parkinson's. Wow. That would be tough. That would be the hardest thing, to be like, oh, hey, by the way, our oppressive regime is over. Now I'm going to die within the next couple of years because I have accelerated aging. I don't know how it's going to work. Because you see Rex, later on, it's been confirmed by Lucas himself that one of the guys who were actually storming the base on Endor, that was Rex, the old guy with the big beard and the cap. That was Rex. So you see he's old, but he's not like death old. Is it Crosshair's specific DNA because he's a part of the genetically modified clones? Is that because that's wearing down? Interesting. I hope we find out. I've also got, maybe it's the repeated injury from the guards. You can assume that he wouldn't have gone down too easily for the majority of it. Yeah, he looks worn down and he's like, oh, I'm very complacent walking through the hallways. But is that really the case for all of it? Is that only what Omega saw? Because you got to remember, Star Wars is all perspectives. It's all perspectives. It's all what we know based off what we're seeing through one of the characters. We don't know what's happening in the back with Crosshair. Maybe they're bloody cattle prodding him the whole time. Tell us. Why'd you try to get the Bad Batch here? What's plan 88? I don't know. Then we got the next one. Is it all in his head? You hear a lot about like PTSD and how that affects troopers in real life, obviously, and that I'm so grateful for the people who have served my country, other countries, to just serve their people. They're incredible. And PTSD is a serious problem. And are they kind of experiencing that and showcasing that in the Bad Batch? To be like, hey, by the way, because everything's designed for kids, is this kind of like an easy way to go, hey, by the way, war can affect you. War is bad. What's going on? So I thought that'd be kind of cool to be like, hey, we're bringing in some real world issues here. Is it just in his head? We'll find out. Now, a lot of everything that happened in this episode was kind of explained in the previous two. A lot of it was just kind of like, hey, by the way, we're seeing behind all of these barricaded doors because Palpatine's there. Because now we're seeing it from Palpatine's perspective. Now, I have to say, that cloning facility with all of the red lighting, how many chef's kisses do I have to give that? It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But you see all of the vats of everything in there, clones, potential clones. Is that how we're seeing Snoke? Meh? Obviously, there was Snoke jelly in The Rise of Skywalker in one of those tanks. Palpatine created him. Was Snoke created with a high midichlorian count, but not as high as Palpatine? Because it was based off one of the clones? We don't know. I gotta stop doing that. Was it because of that? Was it because maybe, just maybe, Palpatine needed someone to take over from Vader? Did he have Vader just because Vader had the perfect midichlorian count in his DNA? Who knows? I hope it expands on it. And it's kind of like the last little bits here. I thought their escape was perfect. Timing that with the DNA all throughout. Oh, come on. I was in so much suspense. This was late at night as well. Late at night, I just had I was playing some games with the boys. Fortnite. Which they've just done a big deal with Star Wars. Disney. So they're going to make a big Star Wars thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to buy a skin for the first time. Mandalorian. But anyways. So, it was late at night. And my heart was racing. I was up because it was just tearing me going, are they going to make it? I would hate to see if Palpatine was on the base. If Palpatine was on the base and they just were about to get it, then poof, none. And you see that when they find out, when the thing goes, they get all the way down to the lurkers, to the empty lurkers kennel. And they go, gold. It's the perfect DNA sample. What are we going to do? Just as they get into the kennel. Lock down the base now. Red button. And then it's kind of like the Mandalorian. Oh my God, the Mandalorian season 3 hallway scene. Hallway. Like, lock. And I was screaming. I was like, Omega, run! Oh my God, I swear, if that was going to be one of those Leia things, like, and Crosshair made it out and Omega goes, oh no. Omega. Shut up. Get out there. But she made it, and it was awesome. It didn't actually worry me a lot when it came to being in the forest, because I thought, she's got the lurker, and she's got Crosshair. Biggest badass, and they've both got guns. Omega herself is incredible with a gun. I love her character now. I love her character. She's doing so much better. Anyways, so we see them making their way through the jungle. you've got everyone on search. You've got the V-Wing starfighters coming out, circling around them. Where the hell are they going to go? They're trapped. They make their way to the old ship. Bam, bam. It's crap. Couldn't do it. Oh, wait. There's a transport ship. We can take out the people in the transport ship and we can get out of here. They didn't have the lurker at this time. Thankfully, the other lurkers that were jumped out, they took on that big beast because they would have 100% died. And all the other lurkers were focusing on that. They ran over and they saw this big thing and they were trying to get in there and they were making their way and they got right up the top and Omega's like barely scraping in. But they're pretty cooked. They're pretty cooked. They've got how many stormtroopers there waiting outside, looking at them, going, nah, buddy. You're out. You're out. Lurker comes from the distance. Badger. Sorry, I just didn't say his name properly. Badger. Rah! Jumps out. Boom, 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 boom. Takes out a few. Jumps on. Close the door. Out. You need to call off the attack. That was insane. Basically, he's so lucky Palpatine left. Because Hemlock would have died no faster death than anyone else. Bang, bang. You're gone, buddy. You failed. We just found the perfect code. We've got all the scientists here. I don't need you. Poof. Get another one. But he does understand the vision. Which is menacing. Go Palps. Anyways. So they call it off. And Omega and Crosshair leave. Massive. Now what I was saying before. Are they going to make it out? With finding... Well, are they going to make it out? Yeah, obviously. But are they going to make it out and find Hunter and Wrecker straight away? I hope so. I hope so. If this is truly going to be the end of the Bad Batch, I hope they meet up earlier. I don't want like a last minute. Oh, look, we've had heaps of character development alone. Build up the Bad Batch again. What? We just found a version of Crosshair's old armor. What? Crosshair, what? It'd be cool. It'd be really cool. Okay. And that's all for the episode. That's 3 episodes down. This is a longer episode than I thought it was going to be. Wow. Okay. Let's finish it off with some special mentions. Daniel Logan. He's the guy who acted as the young clones in Attack of the Clones. He actually voiced the young clones in episode 2. That's what I was trying to say before. I got really excited for it. How cool is that? I noticed as soon as I heard his voice, I was like, no way. Daniel Logan. I love him. He's a really awesome guy. He is at almost every Comic-Con or any kind of like convention to meet up with fans and to just be a lovely guy. So I love that he's making his way back. He's the best. Next one. I saw this on Star Wars Sith's Instagram. Omega's crossbow that she has on the poster looks really similar to Boba Fett's EE3 blaster. Come on. Kind of brings you to another thing. Are we going to see Boba Fett in this? Now, it goes Alpha and Omega. Alpha renamed as Boba. Then you got Omega, who's literally just Omega. Are they going to meet up? Are we going to see not really a reunion, but any interaction? I hope so. I really hope so. Boba is all time, and he is primed right now. He's primed up. He's ready to go. He's been training with Cad Bane. He's kind of a menace. He's easily one of my favorite guys ever. So I really hope we see him. But maybe he helps Omega get out of there if, sadly, the Bad Batch die. Now, we get to the question part of it. Now, I'm going to say a few questions. And please answer them in the comment section. This is going to be obviously towards the end. And if you haven't watched this point, that's okay. But if you have any answers to any of these questions, respond to it. I'll be snappy. I'll respond to you as soon as I can, unless I'm asleep. Then when I wake up, I'll do it. First thing I do after I journal how I slept. So, what do you think caused Crosshair's tremors? I know I gave a couple there, but what really is going to happen? Are they going to meet up before the end? I don't know. And the biggest one, do you like Omega more? I'm really liking Omega. She's killing it. I like how they're going. I want to see more of her. And more of her like this. Badass. She's a badass. Anyways. If you have any questions, let us know. Now, from next week onwards, usually earlier on in the week, like Monday, Tuesday in America, that's going to be a Sunday or Monday. I'm going to put up on my Instagram page, Blore and Mandalore, I'm going to put up a whole bunch of prompts and questions. If you want to send me anything so that I can answer it on the show, if you want to just tell me something that I didn't know, maybe even tell me something that I got so wrong so that I can learn. You teach me, I teach you. Let's make this a transformative experience. Let's do it. I am so glad this is getting started. I am so glad everything's kind of going on. I love you guys. This has been a huge start for me. So hopefully I'm not relying on notes too much. But even if I am, I'm glad I got you along the journey. So thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. If you're watching, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. But all right, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Cool.